Hello, welcome and thank you for joining us in today's webinar, the BPHASA and the ARC Michigan Person-Centered Planning webinar series. Today's topic is the CMHSP Training Needs Assessment 2023. I am today's presenter, Heather Hallett. I am a project coordinator assistant with the ARC Michigan. We are waiting for a few more attendees to join us. The webinar will begin at 3 p.m. While we're waiting, a few housekeeping items. All webinar attendees have been muted and your videos are turned off. Questions can be asked using the Q&A function. The webinar moderator may answer your questions during today's presentation, but may also wait to respond via email after the presentation. Following the webinar, participants will receive a PDF of the presentation and a link to the recording. We do not offer CEUs for this webinar series. To find recordings of previous webinars and access to the PDFs and also to our help desk, please go to the Person-Centered Planning Quality Improvement Project with the link on this slide. And it is 3 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. If someone could please just put in the Q&A just that you can see the screen and everything's okay, that would be helpful. Thank you so much. So today's topic is the CMH. Okay, thank you so much. Today's topic is the CMHSP Training Needs Assessment 2023. I am your presenter, Heather Hallett. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services Behavioral Physical Health and Aging Service Administration, also known as the MDHHS BPHASA, sought input on training needs within the community mental health system utilizing the Training Needs Assessment. The results of this assessment will be used to inform various training efforts, including the Person-Centered Planning webinar series for the behavioral health system. Input was sought from those working in and around the community mental health service system, including clinical providers, stakeholders, customer service, administration, quality improvement, etc. The needs assessment was completed using SurveyMonkey. The survey asked for information about experiences, challenges, and training needs. The survey was open from January 9th until February 5th. The estimated time to complete the survey was about 5 minutes, and we had a total of 433 responses, which is amazing. I would just like to take a minute to thank anybody who filled out the survey. Thank you so much. We did have a great response. So the first question we asked for responders was to identify the role within the CMH system. The red here, let me get my mouse over here. So the red is case managers and support coordinators. Orange is the clinical supervisors. And this brown is customer service. The colors here get a little hard to distinguish, so I'm going to call this one a green shade, and that is intake. And this, I'm sorry, I think I messed that up. This brown color is customer service. This green shade next to it is intake. This lighter green is quality. And this bluish green is case management supervisors. And I just need to scroll down really quick so I can read my own comments. This dark color here is MDHHS staff. The brown next to it is stakeholders. And this small sliver here is independent facilitators. And the next greenish is advocates. And this large green area here is other. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to go forward. Sorry, I'm working with 2 screens. It makes it good and bad. So as you can see, the other is a large slice of this chart. 36% of respondents identified their role as other. It was important to break down that other to get a better understanding of who was answering the questions and what their needs are. This is a word cloud representing the responses to other. The size of the word indicates how frequently it was used. I was able to look at some of the responses and was able to make some categories that were not options in the drop-down menu. So therapist there is the largest and the most frequent answer that we received under other, and therapist does include occupational therapist and physical therapist. I was able to group those together, and then we grouped together supervisors, coordinators, administrators into one category. I also combined providers, AFC, CLS, residential caregivers into one category. Person with lived experience is an important voice, and I wanted to reflect that in the following slides. However, there were not a lot of persons with lived experience in the survey. So I did combine people with lived experience, family, parents, guardians to form one category. The next few charts are broken down by role. Please note I have rounded all the percentages to the closest whole number just for simplicity. But in the chart, they are put in with 2 decimal points. As you can see, the red and the orange indicate the majority of responders feel they do have access to the training they need, with 84% responding either strongly agree or agree. The exception, when you look at this by role, is quality had 38% disagree. Stakeholders were split evenly. However, if you look at the persons with lived experience, the majority did agree that they had access to the trainings that they needed. Again, the red and the orange bars indicate the majority of respondents do feel they have access to supervision or colleague support. Overall, 84% of the responses were either strongly agree or agree. However, we do see the brown bar indicating disagree with over 30% in the following roles: customer service, intake, case management supervisors, MDHHS staff, and advocates. We asked the nature of the current formal training. The orange bars indicate that most respondents, 80% overall, are receiving their training online. 52% of all respondents indicated they are using an in-person format, represented by the red bar, and the brown bar shows 16% of respondents indicated other. From this chart, we see across all the roles, online is the most common format being used. Next, we ask about the frequency of formal training. The red bar here shows the majority, 61% of responders receive training only annually. Only 23% are receiving training quarterly, represented by the orange bars, and 16% monthly, represented by the brown bars. The exception being the MDHHS staff, who indicate they are receiving quarterly and monthly trainings, and no one indicating that they were receiving the annual trainings. Questions so far? I'm going to take a moment to check the Q&A. The image on the screen is a brown owl with his head tilted, looking inquisitive. Okay, I don't see any questions right now, so we are going to keep moving forward. And remember, if you do have questions, you can put those in the Q&A, and I will be monitoring the Q&A as we go through slides, and I have built in some stops just to check that and make sure that I am seeing the questions that are coming in. Okay, so next we asked respondents to rate the training topics by level of need. These charts are again broken down by role. So for person-centered planning, philosophy, and historical perspective, of all respondents, 62% indicated either moderately or strongly needed, 33% stated not needed, and 5% were unsure. And you can see the breakdown by role here on your screen. So the next one for person-centered planning, Michigan policy requirements, the orange bar, moderately needed, and the brown bar, strongly needed, show a need for training across most roles. In fact, 84% of all responders answered moderately or strongly needed, 12% not needed, and 4% unsure. The outlier here is the intake role, with 56% answering not needed. For person-centered planning tools, we see again the orange and the brown bars across all roles, indicating a need for training. 77% of all responders answered either moderately or strongly needed, 16% not needed, and 7% unsure. And if you see the stakeholders definitely had a strongly needed here in this chart, above 70%. Developing meeting facilitation skills. 69% of all respondents indicated either moderately or strongly needed. 25% of all respondents indicated they did not need the training, and 6% were unsure. We see on the chart here, intake and independent facilitators responded with over 50% not needed, while quality and advocates responded over 50% with strongly needed. Training providers on the plan of service while maintaining compliance. Indicated by the orange and the brown bars again, the majority, 77% of respondents indicated either moderately or strongly needed, 17% not needed, and 7% unsure. The two exceptions being intake and independent facilitation, both with over 50% responding not needed. Person-centered planning in the Office of Recipient Rights. The majority, 75% of respondents indicated either moderately or strongly needed, 20% not needed, and 5% unsure. And we see here the independent facilitators with the highest moderately needed, which was over 70, and unsure over here. Oops, sorry, I clicked and it went to the next screen. Sorry, let me go back. And the unsure here just between the 20 and 30%. For person-centered planning, grievance and appeal rights, 70% of all respondents either responded moderately or strongly needed, 24% not needed, and 6% unsure. Again, intake and independent facilitators are the exception, with over 40% responding not needed. However, intake also had 44% respond strongly needed. 73% of all responses were either moderately needed or strongly needed training on independent facilitation, 21% not needed, and 6% unsure. Therapist is the exception with about 37% not needed. For home and community-based services, overall 78% of all responses were either moderately or strongly needed, 13% not needed, and 8% unsure. The outlier here with 30% responding not needed are intake and persons with lived experience, family, parents, and guardian. Home and community-based service rules and person-centered planning. 78% of all responses were either moderately or strongly needed, 14% not needed, and 8% unsure. Almost 85% of case management supervisors responded strongly needed. Stakeholders responded 75% moderate and 25% strongly needed, with no one responding not needed or unsure. Home and community-based service rules and self-directed arrangements. 77% of all responses were either moderately or strongly needed, 13% not needed, and 10% unsure. The exception or the outliers being persons with lived experience, family, parent, and guardians, with over 30% responding not needed. Overall response for the National Core Indicator data update. We're closely divided between the four responses. 25% responded not needed, 31% responded moderate, 20% strongly needed, and 23% unsure. This is the first time we see a significant unsure response. Supported decision-making, 75% of all responses were either moderately or strongly needed, 19% not needed, and 7% unsure. The outliers here with not needed over 30% were the roles of intake, independent facilitator, and therapist. Stakeholders responded with 100% either moderately or strongly needed. And you can see that right here. They were quite high with the moderate and then followed that with the strongly needed. Tools to support retaining choice at all ages. 76% of all responses were either moderate or strongly needed, 15% not needed, and 9% unsure. 100% of the MDHHS staff, stakeholders, and advocates responded moderately or strongly needed. And you can see that in this chart with the lack of red bars in several categories. Medicaid Manual 101. 60% of all responses were either moderate or strongly needed. Responses were closely divided between all four categories. 20% not needed, 33% moderate, and 27% strongly needed, and 20% unsure. 75% of independent facilitators responded not needed, and 75% of stakeholders responded moderately needed. Assessing medical necessity. 76% of responses were either moderately or strongly needed, 17% not needed, and 7% unsure. As you can see from this chart, the outlier is definitely the 85% of case management supervisors responding strongly needed, and 75% of stakeholders responding moderately needed. Self-determination philosophy. 75% of responses were either moderately or strongly needed, 21% not needed, and 6% unsure. 88% of advocates responded strongly needed, 75% of stakeholders responded moderately needed, and 75% of independent facilitators responded not needed. Michigan Medicaid waiver overview. 83% of all responses were either moderately or strongly needed, 10% not needed, and 7% unsure. 100% of case management supervisors responded moderately or strongly needed. Encounter reporting of behavioral health services. 68% of all responses were either moderately or strongly needed, 19% not needed, and 13% unsure. Responses from intake were split, 44% not needed and 44% strongly needed, and only 11% unsure. And they had none in the moderate category. So they were had strong feelings of either really wanting that training or really not wanting that training. PHIP site review. 60% of all responses were either moderate or strongly needed, 23% not needed, 17% unsure. The outliers by role, if we look at intake and stakeholders represented, they responded with 50% or more with not needed. Resource guides for individuals and families. 78% of responses were either moderately or strongly needed, 16% not needed, and 7% unsure. Over 50% of intake, quality, case management supervisors, stakeholders, and advocates responded strongly needed. Financial planning, estate planning, ABLE accounts, 66% of all responses were either moderately or strongly needed, 21% not needed, and 7% unsure. The outliers by role would be under customer service and intake. Both were over 40% responded not needed. Children's Bureau MDHHS department updates. 66% of all responses were either moderately or strongly needed, 21% not needed, and 13% unsure. Stakeholder responded 50-50 with moderately and strongly needed, making them 100% needing that training. Intake, MDHHS staff, and independent facilitators all had over 40% not needed. The work incentive planning and assistance, WIPA, how work affects benefits. 66% of all responses were either moderately or strongly needed, 19% not needed, and 15% unsure. 62% of case management supervisors answered strongly needed. MDHHS staff, 67% answered moderately needed, and 75% of stakeholders answered moderately needed. Questions on the training topics. Again, I'm going to take just a moment to check our Q&A box and give you guys a second if you would like to put anything in there. And again, the image on the screen is the brown owl with his head tilted. And I don't see any questions right now. I am going to take a quick drink and then we can move on. Okay, for the next section, I did not break down the results by roles. Oh, hold on, we do have a question. Did the participants of this survey get a sample of the topic covered or just the title? And I do believe it was just the title, which may explain some of those high unsure in a couple of categories if they didn't really understand what would be entailed in that training or maybe how it would affect their job title. Thank you very much for the question. And again, if anyone else has questions, please feel free to put those in the Q&A. Okay, so for this next section, I did not break it down by role. So current barriers to ongoing training and support. I'm going to start with the most frequent and work our way down. So 55% of responders identified time needed to complete training as a barrier. 42% indicated staff turnover. 37% of all responders indicated lack of available training in my agency to conduct this type of training. 21% indicated ability to bill for time and funding. 17% indicated other, and only 14% said I do not find current available training helpful. So training supports you would be interested in. Again, I'm going to start with the most popular and work our way down. So the free online modules or courses, 83% said that they would like that. We currently do not have that available. However, on our PCP quality improvement website, we do have the recordings of all of our previous webinars along with the PDFs for those. So that is one way for people to access online some available trainings. Printable information sheets, 68%. Best practice tools and resources, 66%. Annual conferences and workshops, 60%. And just so everyone knows, the SD conference will be May 24th and 25th, and the registration is open as of today. And I will get you guys some more information, and it is in person for anybody who's missing that in person and the ability to network with others. So best practices, tools and resources, 66%. Oh, sorry, I already went over that one. Annual conferences and workshops, 60%. Monthly webinars, 59%. Guidance manuals and technical instructions, 53%. Opportunities for colleagues, supervisors, and statewide expert consultation, 49%, and other 6%. So that concludes kind of the survey part of today's presentation. So just a little bit about what's next. We will use the results of this survey over the next 2 fiscal years to plan our webinars. So please share the webinar schedule, which I have attached, with others who might find it beneficial. As we saw in the presentation, there are a wide variety of people in different roles that want to learn more and could benefit from our webinar topics. So please share with your team, colleagues, and other people that you feel would benefit. If you or someone on your team would like to be added to our webinar listserv, please email me at heather@arcmi.org. That's HEATHER at arcmi.org. And this is our, well, part of the flyer for our 2023 webinar series. So I will attach this to the email with the PDF, and it will also have a little bit more information on, how to access the webinars and what to expect. So please feel free to share that again with others. And for those of you who like the in-person training, our self-determination conference will be in person this year, May 24th and 25th. And I will send you guys a copy of the flyer here with the link for the registration. So again, that's May 24th and 25th. The registration is open. Any questions on anything that we talked about today? I will get the follow-up email sent out this week, including the PDF of today's presentation, the flyer for the 2023 webinar series, and the link to the Person-Centered Planning Quality Improvement Project website, where you can access those recordings and the PDFs of past webinars. You can also access our self-determination help desk and our frequently asked questions there. I will also include the link and the information for the SD conference. And I know today's webinar is a little bit shorter. I would like to point out back here under our webinar flyer that we normally do the 3rd Tuesday of every month. There is a date change for November 14th, just to accommodate everyone's busy schedules. So there is a note there that is not the 3rd Tuesday. I believe it's the 2nd Tuesday. But yes, I will send that out along with a little bit more information about our webinars. And we do want as many people to be able to access those and benefit from our webinar series. And I'm not seeing any questions in the Q&A. Again, I know we are really short today. but this is just the information that we wanted to share with you guys so that if you did take the time to fill out that survey, please know that we are using it. It is very valuable information, and it will help us for the next couple of years to make sure that we are providing quality webinars that are meaningful to our participants. So with that, I will go ahead and end the webinar and give you guys, a little shy of a half an hour back of your day. So everyone have a great day. And if you do have questions about anything that we covered today, please feel free to email me, and we will see you all hopefully next month. Thank you and have a great day.